We're learning about compass points, and hopefully you've already watched the first video. If you haven't done that, do that now. It's on the chat or the daily plan for today. Our learning intention is to recognize and use the points of a compass, and our success criteria, something that we're hoping to do by the end of the day, is to use the compass points to give directions, or also I can follow directions given using compass points. The 4 cardinal points of a compass, which you probably know already, and are also used to describe position and direction, in other words, where we get from one place to another. They are N for north, S for south, E for east. What's the last one? It's W for west. When we're using a compass, the line on a compass turns and it moves from, for example, north to east or south to west. We measure turn using angles. We have learnt about angles before. We have learnt about right angles, which is the same as a corner. I'm going to show you one line. It's a horizontal line, and then it's going to turn and it will become a vertical line. Here's the horizontal line, and then we have a vertical line. The space between those lines, which we call the measurement of turn, is 90 degrees, and that's how big a right angle is. Let's go back to our compass. And each quarter turn, and what I mean by that is the fact that you see the compass there and it's divided into 4 equal parts. So when we revise our work on fractions, 4 equal parts is the same as saying quarters. So each time the line on the compass, for example, moves from north to east, okay, we would say that that is a quarter turn, or we would say a right angle or a corner. And as I showed you before on the previous slide, there was actually an instrument called a protractor that was measuring the right angle at 90 degrees. So every time you move by a quarter turn, you get to a new compass point. So let's try it then. If you were facing north, and you might even want to stand up and face north to make it easier, and if you were to turn 1 quarter turn clockwise, okay, you would be facing east. Now you've got to be careful here, because when you turn, you can either turn to your right clockwise or to your left anti-clockwise. If you look at the clock in school, or if you've got a clock at home that has got hands, if you watch them, when the hands are turning clockwise, that is when the clock hand is moving around the clock face. Anti-clockwise is just the opposite way to the left. So watch the arrow in the bottom left-hand corner as it turns. So it's turning clockwise, just like the hands on a clock. And if you start facing north, you would then end up facing east. Let's try another example. Okay, so if you're facing south and you turn 90 degrees clockwise, which part of the compass will you be facing? Will you be facing north, east, south, or west? Now again, you might want to stand up, face the same way that the red arrow at the bottom of the screen is facing, and turn 90 degrees. Now that's the same as 1 right angle or quarter turn. Well, if you're not sure, and remember, like all our learning, what we've found, especially when learning remotely, is that when we come across a new skill that we need to practice or a new topic, it can be quite difficult. But with practice, we get there. So watch the arrow at the bottom of the screen. Let's see it turn 90 degrees clockwise. That was the same as 1 right angle. Now, even if you couldn't work out which way you were supposed to turn or by how much, What direction is that arrow facing now? Look at the compass. It's facing west. Let's try another one. So this time we're going to start by facing west, which is where we ended up with the last example. And we're going to turn a quarter of a turn clockwise. So we're going the same way as last time. We're facing west. Remember, if it's clockwise, you will be turning to your right. It does help if you know your left from your right. And it's just one right angle. Have a think, where will you end up? What direction are you facing now? So that's the direction you're facing now if you watch that arrow move. The answer is north. So this time we're facing north, which is where we ended up last time. And we're going to turn 2 right angles anti-clockwise. That's to the left. That's the opposite direction to the hands of a clock and which way they move. So think, where would you end up? Okay, watch the bottom arrow to see if you are right. So it's 2 quarter turns, 2 right angles. Let's see which direction will you be facing. You see how the arrow moved? Which direction are we facing now? South. Let's do one more. I'm facing west and turn 3 right angles clockwise. So it's clockwise, so we're moving to our right. So if you can stand up, that would be great. Face west and turn 1 right angle, 2 right angle, 3 right angles. Let's see, watch the arrow. Where do you end up? Which direction are you facing? Well, hopefully you should be facing south. Okay, so we're facing north and we're going to turn 3 quarter turns anti-clockwise. That's to the left. So if you can stand up, that would be great. Face north. Okay, and then turn 1 quarter turn, another quarter turn, and another quarter turn. Now, if you've ended up at west, you've gone wrong. You've gone the wrong way. If you ended up at west, you went clockwise instead of anti-clockwise. Got to be careful. Let's watch the arrow. Let's see which direction we should be facing now. You should be facing east. So now we're going to look at the 4 intercardinal points. And that means if we use these, we can be more specific. Because sometimes you don't always end up going north, east, south, or west. You end up going halfway between those compass points. So as you can see, we have NE, which stands for northeast, because that's halfway between north and east. Have a think. Do you know the other ones? Have a think. What will be between north and west? What will be between south and east? Well, it's southeast. How can you work out the others? Southwest is between south and west. And the one I asked you to think about earlier, between north and west, is northwest. Now, the 4 intercardinal points, okay, is more of a spiciest challenge. So if you did want to stop the video now, because this is quite tricky, that's fine, and you can get on with the spicy or spicier work. However, if you want to challenge yourself, continue watching the video. So let's try this one. I am facing northeast, so you can see that the arrow in the bottom of the slide, in the left-hand side, is facing northeast if you look at the compass to see where NE or northeast is. But this is the tricky part. You've got to turn 1/4 turn, that means 1 right angle, anti-clockwise, that means to the left. Now it's tricky because you're not starting at north, you're starting at northeast. Have a think, what will be the answer? Now it's not going to be southeast, because if you've ended up at southeast, you've turned clockwise. Again, if you can stand up and face the same way as that arrow at the bottom of your screen and then try moving to your left and turning a 1/4 turn, it might help. Let's see. The answer is northwest. So whenever you start at an intercardinal point, such as southwest, and you have to move a right angle, whether it's clockwise or anti-clockwise, it is going to be another intercardinal direction that you face. Well done with starting our new learning about compass points. Good luck with your activities today. Let's try another example. Stand up if you can and imagine that you're facing southwest, and this time you've got to turn 2 right angles clockwise. So that means you're turning to the right. I'm going to help you with this one. I'm going to talk you through it. Well, if I was to turn 1 right angle clockwise, I would start by facing southwest, but then I would face northwest. And you now work out which direction you would face if you turned another right angle. It would be northeast as the answer. So this is really challenging now, okay? Between each of the 8 compass points, there are 45 degrees. And this is an 1/8 of a turn. I'll explain what that means. So for example, if you are facing north and then you turn northeast, because it's half a right angle, it is 45 degrees. Because if you remember at the start of the PowerPoint, we learnt that when you turn a full right angle, that would be 90 degrees. So half of 90 is 45. And the reason we say it is an 1/8 of a turn and not a 1/4 of a turn is because when you've got the intercardinal points, you'll notice that the compass is split into 8 equal parts. So each turn between the 8 compass points is 1/8 of a turn. Again, don't worry or stress too much about this. It is a little bit tricky. And that is a drawing showing how between northeast and east, which is half a right angle, it's 45 degrees. So if you're facing northwest, which is what the bottom arrow is doing, and you turn 45 degrees clockwise, this is half a right angle. Which direction will you be facing? So go to the right, and if the arrow moves to the right, you should be facing north. Well done if you got that.